Hello and welcome to Home Remedies Over 50. If you are watching this video, I want you to imagine something for a moment. You're in your 90s, still moving around, doing the things you love, and most importantly, you're not just surviving, but thriving. You feel strong, independent, and pain-free, and you can walk without the fear of stumbling. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not a fantasy, and you don't need to wait for some miracle cure. In today's video, I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, secrets for maintaining strength and mobility as we age. It's something that can significantly improve your life after 60, and most of you aren't getting enough of it. This is not just about surviving the aging process, but about living your life to the fullest, walking strong, and keeping your independence for years to come. By the end of this video, you'll have a deep understanding of the importance of vitamin D, how it can keep your legs strong, and the ways you can ensure you're getting enough of it. Stay tuned to find out why vitamin D is the only vitamin that can truly keep you walking strong after 60, and how you can benefit from it. 1. The importance of vitamin D in senior health. When we think about staying healthy as we get older, most of us probably picture strong bones and healthy joints. But there's one nutrient that doesn't always get the attention it deserves: vitamin D. We usually associate it with bone health. After all, it's well known for helping us absorb calcium and keep our bones strong. But did you know that vitamin D is also a key player in maintaining strong muscles and balance? That's right, it's much more than just a bone booster. Now, think about this. As we age, staying active and independent becomes more challenging. We might not move as freely as we did in our younger years, and simple tasks, like getting up from a chair or walking across the room, can feel harder. Muscle strength and mobility become crucial for maintaining our independence, and that's where vitamin D steps in to help. For anyone over 50, the importance of maintaining muscle strength and balance can't be overstated. Imagine being able to walk confidently without the fear of falling. Picture yourself lifting groceries without worrying about straining your muscles or needing assistance to do the things you enjoy. This isn't a far-off dream. With the right amount of vitamin D, it's possible to stay strong, steady, and independent well into your later years. Now, you may be wondering, why is vitamin D so important for muscle strength and balance? Well, let's break it down. Vitamin D does more than help with bone health. It's also essential for your muscles to function properly. Without enough vitamin D, your muscles can become weak, and your balance can be compromised. This can increase your risk of falls and injuries, which are common among older adults. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, a mineral that's crucial for bone health. But what you might not realize is that it also plays a role in muscle contractions. That means when your vitamin D levels are low, your muscles may not be able to contract and work as efficiently as they should. This can lead to muscle weakness and problems with balance. Over time, this could limit your ability to move freely and safely. Let's talk about something important here. Falls. They're a big concern for older adults, and they often happen because of weakened muscles and poor balance. But the good news is that by keeping your vitamin D levels where they should be, you can lower your risk of falling. It's a simple but effective step that can help you stay mobile and independent for years to come. In fact, studies show that older adults who take vitamin D supplements have a lower risk of falls and fractures compared to those who don't. It's not just about avoiding falls, though. Vitamin D also helps to keep your muscles strong, so you can continue doing the things you love, like gardening, walking, or playing with your grandkids. But here's the catch: vitamin D deficiency is surprisingly common, especially among older adults. As we age, our skin becomes less efficient at making vitamin D from sunlight. So, even if you're spending time outside, you might not be getting enough of this vital nutrient. That's why it's essential to pay attention to your vitamin D levels and find ways to make sure you're getting enough. So, if you've been feeling more fatigued, struggling with muscle cramps, or noticing that your balance isn't as steady as it used to be, it might be time to take a closer look at your vitamin D intake. It's easy to forget how important this nutrient is when it comes to maintaining your strength, mobility, and overall health. But trust me, adding more vitamin D to your routine could make a world of difference. 2. The surprising fall risk in vitamin D deficiency. Now, let's get into a topic that's incredibly important for all of us, especially as we age: falls. I'm sure you've heard how dangerous they can be, but here's something that might surprise you. Did you know that 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 will fall each year? That's a staggering statistic when you think about it, and unfortunately, it's not just about a little tumble. A fall can lead to serious injuries, like broken bones, or worse, a loss of independence. For older adults, falling once can trigger a chain of events that affects not just your mobility but your ability to live life the way you want to. Falls aren't just a risk for people with existing health conditions either. Even if you feel perfectly healthy, a fall can happen unexpectedly. And it's not just about slipping on a wet floor. It could happen simply from tripping over a rug or losing your balance while reaching for something. The scary part is that the consequences of a fall don't just affect your body in the immediate moment. A broken bone can lead to months of recovery, and in some cases, it can even result in permanent changes to your lifestyle. Now, I know this sounds a bit gloomy, but there's a bright side to this. We can reduce the risk. One of the most surprising ways to do so is by paying attention to something that's often overlooked: vitamin D. Let me explain why. Research has shown that vitamin D deficiency is strongly linked to an increased risk of falls. Yes, you heard that right. When your vitamin D levels are low, your body is less able to maintain muscle strength and coordination, both of which are critical for balance and preventing falls. So, if you're feeling a little wobbly or having more trouble with your balance, it could very well be related to your vitamin D intake. This is a game changer, especially since it's something we can address pretty easily. For instance, there was a study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society that looked into the impact of vitamin D on fall risk. The results were eye-opening. Older adults who took vitamin D supplements were found to have a 23% lower risk of falling compared to those who didn't. Let that sink in for a moment. 23%. That's a huge difference when it comes to maintaining your balance and staying mobile. But it's not just about preventing falls. Vitamin D does so much more. When you have sufficient levels of vitamin D, it helps to keep your muscles strong and your bones healthy, both of which are essential for maintaining balance and coordination. Think about it. If your muscles are weak, it becomes harder to recover from a stumble or keep your footing steady. But with the right amount of vitamin D, your muscles are more resilient, and you're better equipped to stay on your feet. Here's another thing to consider. A lack of vitamin D doesn't just affect your balance in the moment. It can lead to long-term issues, like muscle weakness and poor mobility. If you're consistently low in vitamin D, you might start to notice your legs feeling weaker, or you could experience difficulty standing up from a chair or walking across the room. These are signs that your body isn't getting the support it needs to keep moving smoothly and safely. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How do I know if I'm getting enough vitamin D? Well, unfortunately, many people don't realize they have a deficiency until they start experiencing the symptoms. Muscle weakness, poor balance, and increased risk of falls are just a few signs that your body might be lacking this crucial nutrient. If you're feeling unsure about whether you're getting enough vitamin D, it's a good idea to talk to your doctor and get a blood test. It's a simple way to find out if your levels are where they should be. If your levels are low, don't worry. There are plenty of ways to boost your vitamin D intake. One of the best ways to get vitamin D is through sunlight. Spending some time outside each day, especially during the middle of the day, allows your body to produce its own vitamin D. But let's be honest, sometimes getting enough sunlight can be tricky, especially during the colder months or if you spend most of your time indoors. That's when supplements can really help. Vitamin D supplements are easy to find and can make a big difference in keeping your levels where they should be. And of course, there are foods that can boost your vitamin D intake as well. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are great sources, as well as egg yolks and fortified dairy products. By including these foods in your diet, you can give your body the vitamin D it needs to stay strong and steady. Now, let me share a personal story to really drive home the point. I had a client, let's call her Barbara, who was in her 70s and had always been active. She loved walking, gardening, and playing with her grandkids. But one day, she had a fall while trying to carry some groceries. Fortunately, she wasn't seriously injured, but it really shook her confidence. She felt like her balance wasn't what it used to be, and she started becoming more cautious and less active. When we talked, I asked her about her diet and how much time she spent in the sun. That's when we discovered that she wasn't getting enough vitamin D after she started taking a vitamin D supplement and spending a little more time outside. Her confidence slowly came back. She was able to walk longer distances without feeling unstable, and her fear of falling diminished. This story is a perfect example of how simple changes, like improving your vitamin D levels, can have a huge impact on your overall well-being and confidence. It's not just about avoiding falls, but about feeling strong and capable every day. So, if you want to stay mobile and independent as you age, I encourage you to start paying attention to your vitamin D levels. It's one of the easiest and most effective ways to reduce your fall risk, maintain muscle strength, and keep your balance in check. It's a small change that can make a big difference in how you feel and move every day. 3. The science behind vitamin D's effect on muscles. Let's get a little deeper into why vitamin D is such an essential nutrient, especially when it comes to muscle strength. As we get older, our bodies go through a lot of changes, and one of the more noticeable ones is the loss of muscle mass, a condition called sarcopenia. It's a big word, but what it really means is that as we age, we lose muscle, which can make us feel weaker and less steady. In fact, nearly half of all people over the age of 80 experience this loss of muscle mass. When that happens, it leads to frailty, making everyday activities harder and increasing the risk of falls. Now, here's where vitamin D comes in. It plays a huge role in making sure our muscles are working the way they should. Without enough vitamin D, your muscles simply can't function at their best. Think about it like this. If you're trying to start a car and it's low on fuel, it's not going to run properly. Similarly, without vitamin D, your muscles lack the strength and energy to do their job. This means that even simple things like standing up from a chair or walking across the room can become a challenge. But it doesn't stop there. A deficiency in vitamin D can lead to muscle weakness and even muscle cramps, which are not only painful but can also make staying active difficult. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a cramp in your leg? That's often a sign that your vitamin D levels might not be where they should be. And for many older adults, these cramps and weaknesses are common, especially if they've been deficient in vitamin D for a while. Let's take a moment to consider just how important mobility is to our everyday lives. We all know that as we age, staying independent is one of the biggest goals we have. And mobility plays a huge part in that. Whether it's walking, getting up from a chair, or simply bending down to tie your shoes, we rely on strong, healthy muscles to keep us going. Without them, these simple tasks become harder, and that's where vitamin D comes into play. When your muscles have what they need, they work harder for you, keeping you strong and independent. Now, I want to share a personal story with you to really bring this point home. One of my clients, let's call him John, was in his early 70s and had been struggling for years with balance issues and frequent falls. It wasn't just about his legs feeling weak, it was about how his muscles didn't seem to have the strength to keep him steady. This affected everything in his life. He was cautious about walking, didn't feel confident moving around, and started to withdraw from activities he once enjoyed. When we first started working together, I asked him about his diet, lifestyle, and whether he had ever checked his vitamin D levels. He admitted that he hadn't really paid attention to them before. So, we decided to start him on a vitamin D supplement along with some physical therapy exercises to strengthen his muscles and improve his balance. The change didn't happen overnight, but within just a few weeks, John started noticing improvements. His legs felt stronger, his balance was better, and his fear of falling began to lessen. He even commented that he was walking further without feeling like he was going to lose his balance. His mobility improved, and so did his confidence. This isn't just a one-time story. I've seen similar improvements in so many others once they address their vitamin D needs. Whether it's feeling more energetic, reducing muscle cramps, or just walking without fear of falling, the difference that vitamin D can make is remarkable. I'm telling you this because vitamin D isn't just some nutrient you hear about in passing. It's a game changer when it comes to mobility and independence, especially as we age. Here's the thing. Vitamin D isn't a cure-all, but it's one of the most important building blocks for muscle health and balance. If you're struggling with weakness or poor balance, it might be time to take a look at your vitamin D levels and see if that's the missing link to improving your strength and mobility. 4. How to know if you're deficient in vitamin D. Now that we've talked about why vitamin D is so important for muscle strength and balance, you might be wondering, how do I know if I'm not getting enough? It's a good question, and one that a lot of people don't think about until they start noticing some changes in their bodies. The good news is that there are a few signs to watch out for that could indicate a vitamin D deficiency. If you're experiencing any of these, it might be time to take a closer look at your vitamin D levels. Let's go over some of the most common signs that your body might be asking for more vitamin D. 1. Muscle weakness. This is one of the first things that can clue you in that something's off. Have you noticed that your legs feel weaker than they used to, or that you feel unsteady when you're walking or standing? Muscle weakness is a telltale sign of low vitamin D levels. And here's the thing, it's not just about feeling tired. It's that specific weakness in your muscles that makes everyday tasks feel like a struggle. If you've been feeling less stable on your feet, especially when walking, this could be your body signaling that it needs more vitamin D. I had a client, Martha, who started to notice that she was having trouble getting out of bed in the mornings. Her legs felt like they were made of jelly, and she wasn't able to do simple things like climbing the stairs without feeling winded. After checking her vitamin D levels, we discovered she was deficient, and after a few weeks of supplementing, her muscle strength improved drastically. She started walking more comfortably and regained her confidence. 2. Bone pain. Another common symptom of low vitamin D is bone pain, especially in the lower back or legs. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, which is essential for bone health. So, when you're lacking vitamin D, your bones might not be as strong as they should be, which can lead to discomfort or pain. If you've been feeling aches in your joints, particularly when walking or standing for a long period, it's worth considering whether vitamin D is part of the issue. I've heard many older adults talk about persistent aches in their lower back or legs, thinking it's just part of getting older. But sometimes, it's actually related to a vitamin D deficiency. If this sounds like something you're experiencing, don't brush it off. It could be more than just the natural process of aging. 3. Frequent falls. This one is a biggie. Falls become more of a concern as we get older, and the unfortunate reality is that many falls are related to a lack of strength and balance, both of which can be tied to insufficient vitamin D. If you've been tripping more often or feeling like your balance isn't as steady as it used to be, it's time to take action. A vitamin D deficiency can cause muscle weakness, which, as you might imagine, makes it harder to stay balanced and upright. So, if falls have become a regular worry for you, it could be a sign that your vitamin D levels are too low. A friend of mine, Bob, who is in his early 80s, had been struggling with balance issues for months. He was falling more often than he liked, and it started to make him anxious about moving around. After we had a conversation about his vitamin D intake and did a simple blood test, we discovered he was deficient. With the right dose of vitamin D and some strength-building exercises, Bob regained his balance and his confidence. He told me that he felt like he was walking on solid ground again, which is a feeling I'm sure we all can relate to wanting. 4. Slow healing. Have you ever noticed that when you get a scrape or bruise, it seems to take longer than usual to heal? That could be another sign that you're not getting enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is crucial for tissue repair, so when your levels are low, your body can struggle to heal properly. If you find that wounds or injuries are taking longer to mend, it might be time to check your vitamin D levels. I remember Linda, a woman in her 60s, who had a minor injury from a fall. While it wasn't serious, it took weeks for her wound to heal, much longer than she expected. After getting her vitamin D levels tested, we found that they were low. Once she started taking a supplement, her healing process sped up, and she felt much better overall. It was a simple change, but it made a huge difference in her recovery time. How to check your vitamin D levels. So, what can you do if any of these signs sound familiar? The best way to confirm if you're deficient in vitamin D is to get a blood test. This will tell you exactly where your vitamin D levels stand. It's a quick and simple test, and if you're experiencing any of the symptoms we've discussed, it's a great idea to ask your doctor about it. If your levels are low, don't worry, there are plenty of ways to boost them. You can get more vitamin D through sunlight, diet, and supplements. In the next part of our discussion, we'll talk more about how to safely increase your vitamin D intake, but for now, just know that you don't have to struggle with the symptoms of deficiency. By addressing it early on, you can take control of your health and keep your body feeling strong and balanced. 5. The best sources of vitamin D. Alright, So now that we know just how important vitamin D is for keeping our muscles strong and balance steady, let's dive into how we can get enough of it. Many of us think of the sun when we hear vitamin D, but as we get older, our skin isn't as good at turning sunlight into this important nutrient. So, what do we do if we're not getting enough sun? Let's start by talking about sun exposure. We've all heard it before. Get outside and get some sun. But how much is enough? Well, aim for about 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight a few times a week, and try to get outside during the middle of the day, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's when the sun is at its strongest, and your skin can make the most vitamin D. Now, if you're like me and live in a place where the sun doesn't shine every day, don't worry. There are other ways to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. If you're not able to soak up the sun, your diet can be a great source of vitamin D. I know what you might be thinking. I don't want to eat fish every day. But the good news is, there are several delicious foods that are rich in vitamin D. For example, fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and tuna are all packed with vitamin D. And don't forget about egg yolks, which are another simple source. If you enjoy dairy, you're in luck. Many dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese are fortified with vitamin D. If you're a vegetarian or just don't like fish, mushrooms are a great option because they produce vitamin D naturally when exposed to sunlight, just like us. By including these foods in your meals, you can give your body the vitamin D boost it needs. But sometimes, it's just hard to get enough vitamin D through food or sunlight. And that's where supplements come in. For many older adults, getting the recommended amount of vitamin D through food and sunlight alone might not be enough. If that sounds like you, consider taking a vitamin D supplement. Specifically, vitamin D3 is the best option because it's easier for your body to absorb and use. The recommended daily dose for adults over 70 is about 800 to 900 IU. To help your body absorb the vitamin D better, try taking it with a meal that has some healthy fats, like avocado or olive oil. That way, your body can make the most of the supplement. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That's a lot of information. How do I keep track of it all? Don't stress about it. The key takeaway is simple. Get a little sun when you can. Enjoy vitamin D-rich foods, and if needed, add a supplement to make sure you're getting enough. It's all about consistency and making small changes that add up over time. So, let's pause for a moment. Do you already get a little sunlight each day? Are you eating some of those vitamin D-rich foods? Maybe it's time to take a look at your routine and see where you can add a little more vitamin D into your life. Remember, this small change could help you walk stronger, feel more energized, and stay independent longer. 6. Personal story and lesson learned. Now that we've gone over the importance of vitamin D and how it helps with muscle strength and balance, I want to share a personal story with you. This is about a wonderful woman named Mary, who's in her mid-70s. Like many of us, Mary had been dealing with joint pain and weak muscles, which made it difficult for her to walk around without support. She felt like she was losing some of the independence she had worked so hard to maintain. But here's the turning point. Mary decided to take control of her health. She started taking vitamin D supplements and made sure she got a little more sun exposure each day. And within just a couple of months, something amazing started to happen. Mary didn't just notice that her legs were stronger, but her overall energy levels began to rise too. She could walk longer distances without needing help, and her doctor even noticed that her bone density had improved. Can you imagine that? The simple act of focusing on getting enough vitamin D turned her situation around. Mary's story isn't unique, though. Many people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s have seen incredible improvements by simply adding vitamin D to their daily routine. This goes to show that vitamin D can truly change the way you age. It's a total game changer when it comes to maintaining your muscle strength, preventing falls, and, most importantly, preserving your independence as you grow older. The lesson here is simple and powerful. Don't wait for your body to start showing the signs of deficiency. Don't wait for weak muscles or joint pain to take over your life. Be proactive. Take action today by adding more vitamin D to your daily routine, whether it's through sunlight, food, or supplements. Trust me, the earlier you start, the more you'll reap the benefits in the years to come. So, as we wrap up, think about how you can make vitamin D a part of your daily life. Maybe it's taking a walk outside, eating more of those vitamin D-rich foods, or considering a supplement. If you're not getting enough from your diet, whatever it is, remember that small steps today can lead to big rewards tomorrow. Conclusion. So, let me ask you, how are you taking care of your vitamin D levels? Are you getting enough sunlight, eating the right foods, and considering supplements if needed? If you found this information helpful, I encourage you to like this video, share it with others who may benefit from this advice, and subscribe to Home Remedies Over 50 Inches for more tips on maintaining your health and mobility as you age. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know how you plan to boost your vitamin D intake. Remember, it's never too late to take control of your health. Keep walking strong, stay independent, and enjoy your life to the fullest.